How's everybody doing this morning? How are the rest of you doing? Everybody good? Hello, sir. We are going to continue. There's never a better reason to start class a little late than the devil losing two more souls. And so praise God this morning. It's a great morning here at West Broward. And so we are going to continue. We've been talking about walking the walk, and we have gone through several steps in this process. We started with walking in faith, and then walking in obedience, walking in love, and last week we talked about walking in the Spirit. And so I know some of us what we talked about doing before we left is if you had something that you needed to turn over, right, to the Holy Spirit last week, and what that would look like. And so before we begin with today's step, did anybody have an opportunity to do that? Did anyone have an occasion that there was something going on in their life that they needed to completely turn over? And one, did you do it? And two, did you get hurt doing it, right? Were you able to just turn it over? Anybody have something like that happened this week that caused them a little uncertainty? I know we had one in our family. Our daughter was going through something, and it just, at some point, you just got to turn it over, right? You just got to turn it over, right? And so, people deal with things differently, right? And so I tend to, I'm a minimizer. I don't ever make things, I probably take things way less seriously than I should. As God would have it, because he's got a phenomenal sense of humor, he paired me with someone who was the opposite of that, right? My wife is not a minimizer, right? And so this thing is going on, and my wife is like, da, da, da. And I'm like, yes, I think it's just, no, you didn't. That's what I heard. That's not what you said. That's just what I heard. My wife would come to me, in an excited fashion, and sort of I'm like I think that's just going to be fine, right? And so I don't know which is right. I'm sure I'm incredibly frustrating to her sometimes because I don't match her enthusiasm, right? And I just like, hey man, like what's getting upset going to do about it, right? Like, I don't have any control over it, right? So what's worrying going to do? Right? Just make my hair grayer, right? Or make me eat something I shouldn't be eating. And God's going to do what God's going to do, right? He knows what I've asked him to do. He knows what he wants done. And so did anybody else have anything like that this week that caused you to back up a little bit and commit a turnover to God? Was I the only one that had that, me and my wife? Yes. And how do you deal with that when something is pressing and you need a whole bunch of help? You've asked for the help. Now you kind of just got to step away and let God do his thing. How'd that work out for you? Were you able to do that, or did you keep going back in and say, hey, God, you remember what I said? Now, God, don't forget me, right? God, it's me again, just in case you forgot. I need this. All right, I'm going to let you go. But hold on, before I go, God, let me just say that what I'm asking for is you to do this. All right, you got it, big guy. You got it. Okay, right? How'd that go? Were you able to do that? Uh-oh. Yeah. And tell us your name again. I'm sorry. Samantha, yes. So, Samantha, that's a lot harder than it sounds, right? Because you do want to keep your hand on it, just because I don't want to let it go because it's important to me, right? And so is that still a work in progress? You have to. Good. Right? Sure. Absolutely. Good. And so Samantha, what Samantha said, for those who can't hear and those of you that are listening, is that self-control is a big issue, right? Because sometimes we come from a place, she had a rough childhood, and some of that roughness followed her into adulthood. And so it's tough learning how to let things go. And so sometimes a big part of self-control is letting go of control, right? And just, man, listen, I don't know what to do with this anyway. So why don't I just give this over to somebody who actually knows what to do with it, right? Who won't mess it up, who won't say something that they shouldn't say that they can't ever get back. And so thank you for that, Samantha. I think that's a real important point. All right, so before we move into the next step, anybody else? We good? Okay, we got a big step this week. This step this week is walking in humility. Humility. Right? Humility. Right? Who signs up for that every morning? Right? So let's go to Micah. We're going to turn to Micah chapter 6. We're going to start in we're going to read verses 6 through 8. Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. Micah's in the Old Testament, right? You get to Nahum, make a left, right? Get to Jonah, make a right. You're in Proverbs, you hadn't gone far enough. If you're in Malachi, you went too far. 6. So we're going to, Micah 6. Verse 6 says, with what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has shown you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? You see, forget all that fancy stuff you're talking about. And you're going to give 10,000 rivers of oil. And here's what the Lord requires of you: to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Right? Now, somebody tell me what that looks like. What does walking humbly with your God look like? Anybody? What I heard a mumble. Was that you, Brother Keel? Okay, you're just talking to your wife. Okay. What does walking humbly with God look like? Yes. Wait, hold on. Tell us your name as I'm walking back there. Yes, Janet. What does walking humbly with God look like? Absolutely. So walking humbly with God, if we want a snapshot of that, Jesus is probably the best snapshot of that. Right? Okay, that's fair. Anybody else? What does it look like? Walking humbly with God. Yes, Sister Keel? Oh, boy. Oh, Sister Keel then went and said, moving yourself out of the way. Woo. Anybody ever stood in a mirror and try to move yourself out of the reflection? Don't waste no time trying that when you get home, okay? You can't do it, right? It's difficult to get yourself out of the picture, right? But that's exactly what walking humbly with God looks like. Now, obviously, Janet is sort of, spoiler alert, she's given us, right, where we should look for such an example. Now, as Christians, somebody tell me, what does the word mean? What does the word Christian mean? What? Huh? Belonging to Christ. I heard something else over here. A follower of Christ. What? I heard something else over here. To be Christ-like. Anything else? Christ in I. Oh, I see what you did there with the Christian Christ. Okay. That's one of the elders that came up with that. Christ in I. Okay, I like it. I like it. What else? Christ-like, follower of Christ. Christ, what was the one you said, Terry? Belonging to Christ, right? Anything else? All right. Does the Bible give us an example of how Christ handled himself? Where would we go for that example? Where would we go in Philippians for that example? Where would we go in the 2nd chapter of Philippians to see that example? Right? So if someone gets for me Philippians chapter 2, we're going to start at verse 3 and go through verse 8. Whoever has that can go ahead and read that. Philippians 2, Philippians 2, verses 3 through 8. I'm sorry, let how much be done? Nothing. Okay, go ahead. Okay, so thank you for that. So then, based on that reading, where does humility begin? Where does it begin? Right? Scripture said, let this what? Let this mind be in you. Right? So it starts here, right? You gotta decide that I'm not the most important thing in the world. Okay? And so this in verse 3, the reading says, let nothing be done through, what were the words you used? You said, what did you say? Strife and vainglory? What did you say? Strife and vainglory, selfish ambition or conceit, right? Is that what you're going to say? But in lowliness of mind, let each esteem others better than themselves. Each day we wake up, in order to walk in humility, we have got to place ourselves lower. In fact, lowest, right? Think about how many times during the day do you do this? Let each of you look not only for your own interest, but also the interest of others. It's getting painful, right? It's getting uncomfortable, right? Because now, like you said earlier, such a kid, get yourself out the way. And while I'm getting myself, it's not just me getting myself out the way, but I've got to put you in the prime position. I've got to put you above me. But what if I don't want to do that, right? What if I feel like you don't belong to be above me? What if I feel like I'm a pretty big deal myself? Humility, though, teaches, right? Everybody up, me down. It's a big step this week, right? That doesn't come naturally for a lot of us, right? You gotta be secure. You gotta be comfortable in your own skin, right? So if you look around the room, right, you have, Jay is like a world-class accountant, right? Like really smart guy, right? So he says. So according to Jay, right? I don't know that to be true, but he said it. I believe it, right? He tells me all the time, right, how smart he is. We've got Bill and Susie. They're airline pilots, right? Like they know how to fly a plane, right? Kind of big deal, right? That's not that they should be big me and little everybody else, but that's talent. They have a skill set that only a very small part of the world knows how to do. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just saying it's necessary, right? Yes, Sue.
I like the NIV. It says, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others.
Okay. So now I've got to...
Not just putting them first,
right.
But you actually value them.
Right. So now I'm how I assess them, right? I assess them to be of more value than I am, right? Woo. Okay. All right. We're working on that. Got it. How are we doing with that? Anybody want to be transparent? How's that go every day? Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There you go. Right. So the concept, right, is we understand the concept, right? Because you're right, in relationships we do it all the time, right? But man, a piece of cake is a lot different than this joker that I work with every day, right? Like, right? Does, yeah, good point. Depends on the kind of cake, right? And so, but every day I feel like, again, like I feel like God knows that this isn't easy. And so he literally gives us thousands of opportunities every day, right? Because all the people that you come in contact with who are screaming to you that they are not of more value to you, but irrespective of what they're saying or doing, we as Christians need to put them above us anyway. Some of them are even claiming to be above us anyway, right? They've already taken that position without us putting them there. They just took it. They didn't ask me. They just assumed that because they are different than I am, they have more value than I do. So now I don't even get to go through the process of telling them that I'm doing that for them. They've already done it for themselves. How do I deal with that? Like, you already put yourself there. So now what do I do? Just agree? I just bow down. I just let you walk all over me. Because that's what you walked in here to do anyway, because you thought you were better than I was. And so you already came in of more value in your mind. And now I'm supposed to just go along with that. Oh, the other cheek. They ain't got both cheeks. What now? Right? What if they've taken both? I'm out of cheeks, right? It is hard because there are people who just assume the position, right? They're not waiting for me to put you up there. I'm already up there. Look at you. I'm better than you are. I mean, how silly are you? You believe in God. Of course I'm better than you. Of course I've got more value than you. Look at you. Would you pray yesterday? Idiot. And you're supposed to not only take that, But as you're taking that, continue to value them more in faith and obedience and in love and the spirit. Like this thing could get, right, it make you want to work remotely, right? Yes. What's your name? Tell us again. Yes, Tony Evans. That's a famous name. That is Tony Evans. Okay. Are you that Tony Evans or he stole your name? Okay. Got it. Yes. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Correct. Absolutely. That's right. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So the point is, for those of you who are online, is that this goes back to how you begin your day, right? And sometimes if you can take those first 60 seconds, right, and put yourself in the humble position, it is not difficult for you to remain there all day long, right? So she's saying how that when she learned to pray, she was taught to pray for herself last. And so even if you fall asleep, the only person that got left out was you, right? Okay, yes, keep going. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. Right, right. Now, okay, hold on, time out. I'm gonna play advocate because that's what I do. But on the plane, they say put your mask on first. Got it. Okay. And really, I mean, if you think about it though, you did put your mask on first because you took your first 60 seconds and got on your knees, right? You're covered, right? And so now as you go through the rest of the day, you get to cover other people, right? Because you have ensured that you are covered. I saw two hands. That's my wife right there, so I guess I got to call on her. Now, baby, don't be asking nothing that. Oh, okay, all right. Yes, ma'am. This is that woman God gave me.
No, I think one way to see and know your own humility is when you make a mistake or does something, how you handle it or respond to it. If you're not like, I told you this or blah blah blah, that you understand that same mistake or something.
Absolutely. And in fact, I mean, each of us is so pathetic, right, that God had to send his son from heaven to save us, right? Like each one of us, right? And so, again, if you have that backdrop, I mean, how bad can I make you, right? Like I'm exactly the same, other than I have agreed to this relationship with Jesus. And so that's the only value I have is that I'm of value to God because I've accepted his promise. So that's all I want from you is to, man, we can both be priceless. Not because we are actually priceless, but because God paid with the priceless blood of his son to make me so. I'm not priceless on my own. I'm not priceless because I'm cute. I'm priceless because God cared enough for me to give me his son's blood, right? Yes, Janet. Right. Sure. That's right. because we are of value, right? Because we are Christ's. Like we're heirs. Like we're heirs to the promise, right? And so, yes, there is a thin line about giving them all my cheeks, right? Like I'm fresh out of cheeks, homeboy, right? Or I'm going to love you enough to leave you, right? Because you tripping right now, right? And I'm not going to let you handle God's property like that, right? I'm going to remove God's vessel from this situation. Not because God needs my help, right? It's just that if I don't, something might happen that God doesn't want to happen, right? Meaning that I'm going to take matters into my own hands, and I'd rather be alone, right, and good with God than stay with you and be bad with God, right? I saw yes, ma'am, what's your name? Yes, Mulaney? Mulaney. Okay, yes. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. How about that? How about that? So you just walked in here and said spiritual surgery. You just actually walked in here and said that. Like I mean, I'm sure you said some other stuff after that, but I was stuck. I got stuck on the spiritual surgery. But you're absolutely right, right? In that humility has a self-preservation part to it, right? Like it's not just jumping off the cliff because someone asked you to, right? It's man, I love you, right? And I want for you. I want you to have I want you to have this eternal promise, right? And the reason I want you to have it is because I have it already. And I know what it does for me and will do for me, and I want the same for you and your family, even if you don't, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's not a one-time surgery, right? It's happening all the time, because there are times when I have allowed myself, right? I've kept picking at that scab, right? The scab was there to protect me. I won't let that happen. I keep picking at it, right? And so now it's open again, right? Which now it's subject to infection again. It's subject to invasion again, right? It's subject to corruption again. And so now I have to start the process all over again, right? I'm right back on my knees again, right? Praying for everybody and then myself, right? Lord, please cover me, right? While this is healing, cover me, right? Not because I need it, but because I need it to get your will done, right? Yes. Yes, Casey.
I just want to say that I, like things like
Mm-hmm.
I talk to a lot of different people in our environment, people like throw each other us,
Sure.
or some people who always,
Mm-hmm.
but the mindset that I approach it with is how I'm always going to reflect his love when people are nice, and mostly when you're working with people, and those people are every day, and you have to reflect God's love and kindness, and that's how you really show God, like I'm showing up for you.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Really, truly faithful.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful, because the thing is that, and it's also, it's more impactful It's more impactful when times are bad, right? Because the thing is, listen, man, when things are great, God's got me. When things are terrible, God's got me, right? But it doesn't matter. My message stays the same, right? Like, because at the end of the day, God so loved the world that he gave his son, who so loved us that he gave his life, who so loved us that he gave his blood for the remission of our sins and to purchase his church, to fill it with people who didn't deserve it. Man, that message don't change no matter who's president. That message don't change no matter what the weather is. That matter, listen, man, it's a fixed fight. And guess what? Spoiler alert, we win. We win. We win. So you can go to the movie if you want. So let me tell you the end of the movie. We win. Right? If we are in Christ, we win. Everybody outside of Christ loses. Now, I didn't make that up. I didn't make up the rules. Those were the rules when I got here. I'm just going to tell you what the rules are. You do whatever you want. Try to win on your own. The fight is fixed. It's fixed. The gates of hell shall not prevail. We win. I don't know why we ever sad about that. Why am I sad? I'm winning. I don't care what you're saying to me. I'm winning. You think you're winning this argument, but you are not. Because no weapon formed against me. You can't beat me. And it's not me you can't beat. It's the people standing behind me that you can't see. Right? Yes, sir. Hey, Jason. Jason, yes, I know the feeling. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the world views as the Christians. It's really the opposite. It doesn't take strength to not do that.
Correct.
And
to return love
also,
with evil.
Yeah,
right.
Christians aren't weak, and I think we shouldn't view ourselves as weak. And it takes a strong person to stand up for others too, and that is part of this. Is it says out for your own purpose, but also for the interest of others. Sometimes when you do that, that's going to put you in the crossroads.
That's right.
And when you're standing up for others, you don't have to stand up for others and return evil, counter evil. Evil is good. But it takes strength to do that.
That's right. That's right. And it listen, if we are always standing, right, on the love of God, right? Like I'm never moving. Like I'm not chasing you all. I'm not running around the political room with you. I'm not running around the social room with you. I'm not running around. Wherever you go, whenever you finish, I'm going to be standing right here on love. That's where I'm going to be, on God's love. And so God's love teaches me that this is how I should feel for you, even if you don't feel that way for me, right? And it doesn't matter. It's when you're in a good mood, when you're in a bad mood. It don't matter. I'm going to be standing here on love, right? And that's not easy, but it is, because it's something that you can do. The problem is, it's just as easy not to do it. And so sometimes that's what we do with it instead. Yes, this is Ruth Calvin, everybody. Mm-hmm. Right. And you're not ashamed to tell us so. Mm-hmm. Sure. Because sometimes, right, what does the Bible teach us? How you gon' blind your brother if you trying to get the speck out of his eye, this plank you got in your, man, get the plank out your eye, fool, before you kill somebody, right? Get the plank out your eye, and then you've got the better eyesight to help them get the speck out of theirs, right? The spiritual surgery, because yeah, that got me. Yeah, I'm changed forever. Mm-hmm. Cut you coming and going. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
I think it's important to remember that sometimes those that need the most love
Correct. When it really should be, what we should be thinking is not why me, right? But we should be thinking, why not me? Listen, man, if you're going to shoot that poison arrow, I am the perfect target for that. In fact, I need to be trying to catch all those arrows so you don't mess up somebody else, right? And so it's hard. That's just how we think about it sometimes, right? And so if humility begins in the mind, right? How does humility end? Right? If you go back to Philippians 2, 3 through 8, how does Jesus' example of humility end? Begins in the mind. Where does it end? Ends on, but right. How did he get to the cross? Obedience, right? That's where humility should take you, right? Now, it's got the form in the mind, but here's how we know that it's cooking. It ends in obedience, right? That's what you're talking about, right? Not cussing that joker back out, right? That's what you're talking about, not subjecting or subscribing to the negativity that's in the workplace, right? It's obedience. My job is still the same, right? Terry talked about this morning in our mission work. Matthew 28 says what it says, right? Matthew 28, 19 and 20 says what it says, whether you're being nice to me or not. It doesn't say unless. It doesn't say but if. It doesn't say as long as. It tells me to get off my duff and go and tell the world. And guess what? The world ain't necessarily that nice of a place. And there's some people in it that just ain't that cool. But guess what? That's still my job. And so I have to be obedient. And yes, I'm going to talk to some people and they're going to laugh at me or curse at me or threaten me. And guess what? I shake the dust off and go to the next one. Because guess what? The fight is fixed. I win. If you don't want some of this, that's your problem, not mine. I'm going to see my God in peace. And if you don't want to do that, try it your way. But that's how I feel about it. Man, you can't discourage me. I'm winning. In fact, I'm not even winning. I won. It's over already, right? We just going through the steps at this point. Like, I already won this thing. What you talking about? Why? Put your pen down. What you keeping score for? Game's over, man. I win. You can come get some of this, or you can go out there on your own. I would recommend you come get some of what I got. Not because I got it, but because God gave it. Right? Yes, ma'am? That's right. That's absolutely right. And that's ultimately right. That's our job, right? And so all we're trying to do every day is to get as many doors open as possible, right? So my prayer is always, God, give me the opportunity to tell someone about Jesus today. And if that opportunity doesn't present itself, give me the courage to make that opportunity. Take the ones that show up, make the ones that don't. And that's, if I stay there, I'll find out that, man, he's giving me more opportunity than I can even dream of, right? Yes, sir. Scott?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was just wondering between what you were saying and then heard in the service before.
Mm-hmm.
Would this be a form of idolatry?
What?
Well, we're discussing about not walking humbly. So I was thinking about like what's going on in Venezuela and sinning. I was starting to think about where would I get the money to do this? Do I really, the things that wouldn't even cross my mind to give up because I idolize my time and my desires.
Sure.
And I can't give that up, or I need it for this, or I want it for that. Those people are in need.
That's right.
That it's in need of Christ, and I want to turn my back on that because of these things that I wouldn't even consider giving up. I'm thinking the things I wouldn't consider a problem.
Sure. And if you're not careful, right, we struggle with, right, what the verse talks about is putting the interests of others over ours. So whatever that thing is that you're in love with, whatever that thing is you don't feel like you can do without, right? Humility teaches us, man, why don't you let that go for, how about 2 months? Let that go for 2 months. Let that cup of coffee go. Let the beer go. Let the wine go. Let whatever it is, let those lottery tickets go. Just for a couple months, right? And save a soul, right? And then maybe what you find out is, you know what? I kind of like the saving the soul thing better. I like the taste of that better than I like the taste of beer, right? I didn't mean to look at anybody when I said that. All right, let me look back up here. All right, I like the taste of saving souls better than I like the taste of whatever, right? Sarita, I'm gonna put you on the spot because while you were out, Casey brought up a point that sometimes when you conduct yourself a certain way, it opens doors for you. And I forgot to ask you. You shared a message that some folks sent to you a couple weeks ago, right? That were struggling. And can you just share what the folks said to you?
So she basically told me she wanted me to stay with her more and help her learn to walk with Christ like I do. So I've been, texting and talking to her and her building her relationship, and I'm praying that, well enough I can get her to come to church and hopefully.
Brothers and sisters, that's what winning looks like. When people are on their deathbed and they reach out for you, don't get no better than that. That's what winning looks like. Hey, look, man, I don't know how much longer I got, but I feel like you got this figured out. You got this walking with Christ thing nailed. Can you just share with me how you do that? Don't get no better than that. And so if you've gone 40 years and nobody's asked you to pray for them, or hey, can you tell me how you do that? Or hey, maybe we need to get back in the game a little bit, right? Maybe we need to get back to the basics, right? Figuring out how we walk in such a way that people know that if they are going to get to Christ, if they want to get closer to God, I am a person that can help them do that. It's the greatest compliment ever. And one of those is better than the 99 insults you get in between. It'll change your life. Sarita's been changed forever because there's no higher compliment a person can pay you. I need to get right with God, and you're the person I believe can help me do that before I leave this earth. Have mercy. Thank you for sharing that. We're going to win this thing. It's already been decided. All right? Thank you for your time and attention. Appreciate it.